99.9% of the time, when God instructs Moshe to teach Torah and mitzvot to the Jewish people, he words it as follows. Daber el b'nei Yisrael v'yomarta alehem. Speak to the Jewish people and tell them the following. Tell them to keep Shabbat, tell them to put up a mezuzah, tell them to keep all the various mitzvot. At the beginning of this week's Parsha, which I'm sure you'll recall, comes right after the giving of the Torah in Parshat Yitro, which happened last week. God says a very unique expression in how he wants Moshe to teach the Jewish people. Ve'ela ha-mishpatim asher tasim lifneihem. And these are the laws that you shall put before them. It's the only time it says it in the Torah. And the question is there some sort of deeper meaning here? Is there some sort of pedagogical approach that God is telling Moshe? Something unique. Rashi points this out, and he brings from a Gemara, from the Talmud, and from a Midrash. And Rashi says, Asher tasim lefneihem means lay it on. Spread it out. Imagine you go to a banquet, and you have to set the table yourself. You have to cook the food yourself. What kind of banquet is that? What kind of dinner is that? You go in hungry, you walk away hungry. You give up in frustration. Here God is telling Moshe, Tasim lifneihem. Lay it all out on the table in front of them. Make it easy. Make it accessible. Imagine a table laid out with food and with vessels from which to eat. That's how you have to present Torah. That's how you have to teach Torah. The truth is that God himself is the role model for any Jewish teacher. For anybody who is teaching Torah. Why? Because when God gave the Torah at Sinai, he did it in a very unique and very specific way. And I use the word unique carefully because it was unique to the individual. Rashi, in his commentary on Tehillim, which of course is King David's Psalms, in one of the Psalms which we read on Friday night in Kabbalat Shabbat, Rashi, in his explanation of the comment, where it says, Kol Hashem ba'koach, that God's voice is with strength, reads the Rashi, Tzimtzem et kolo, lefi kochan shel Yisrael. God withholds, God restrains his strength according to the ability of the Jewish people. You might think that God's koach, God's strength is in the overwhelming presentation. No. God's strength is in simtzem et kolo. He withholds his voice. He holds it back. He doesn't overwhelm you. He doesn't overwhelm us. It says in the Mishnah, Ezo ha-gibor ha-kovesh et yitzro. Who's a mighty person? Somebody who conquers his urges. Somebody who controls his impulses. Again, you see that strength is not in an expression of where might is with the sword. Strength is in restraint. It's in withholding oneself. It's not using a word that could be harmful. It's not utilizing my brilliance and everything and all my characteristics and my personality and everything that I have in overwhelming you with my personality. It's attuning. It's being attuned to your needs. It's listening to you so that I can give you the message on the best possible level. God himself, in teaching the Torah to the Jewish people, does it how? With koach, according to the ability of each and every single person. That same verse in Tehillim continues, Kol Hashem ba'koach, Kol Hashem ba'hadar. Hadar stands for beauty. The commentaries explain it represents beauty, and that is when God taught the Torah to the Jewish people. How did he do it? He made it beautiful. See, here we have a model for how to teach Torah. We have a model for how to interact with people. We have a model for how to be a leader, for how to be a communicator. And that is, we have to make sure that we're speaking to the level of the individual. We have to make sure that we're speaking in a way that's beautiful. We have to make sure that we're speaking in a way that can be heard and understood to the best possible extent. And this, of course, is relevant for all of us, because we are all teachers. We are all leaders. People learn from us. Whether we're doing it with purpose or whether we're doing it without intent, whether we're doing it in a verbal way or whether we are teaching people through non-verbal messages, people are learning by our example. Our children, our spouses, our communities. And as a result, I think it's worthwhile for us to consider, how did God teach the Torah? He taught it with restraint. He taught it in a way that was spread on the table. And he taught it in a way that made it very beautiful. Have a beautiful Shabbat.